Black women represent 64% of new women-owned businesses opened every day in the U.S. That's crazy. I want us to speak the truth. I want us to be honest, but I'm sick of how every time you hear about Black people, all we do, like, we only hear about our struggles. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like as a little girl, I would have loved to hear about, like, the wins that Black women have.
Yeah.
Because it makes it feel harder.
I think it's one of those things where you've struggled so much through things that, like, you want other people to feel that. So, like, you, not obsessed, but, like, are constantly talking about that. But as we've said before, I don't feel like
we talk about it.
I'm not saying, like, us in general.
Oh,
like,
but
I'm
people?
saying, like, yeah. I'm talking about, like, content out there. It's like we so badly as women of color want other people to understand our struggle. But it's like, instead of focusing on, you know, the struggle, let's focus on the growth, you know? Because what we put out there is what we're going to receive. We've literally recorded this episode like 4 times because we've just struggled so hard with, like...
Are we recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
This is authentic.
We've struggled with, like, where... We definitely want to show recognition for Black History Month. Absolutely. Because we've shared with you guys our struggles before in previous episodes. We've shared the struggles of, like, being African American, being mixed, being biracial, in running a business, especially in the beauty industry. Because I feel like the beauty industry is something that is still very segregated with whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But
it's like an unspoken segregation.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I don't think all of it is just, like, racism. It's just, like, the culture that has been created around what probably started out as racism of, like, Black salon versus white salon, but has now just become, like, a norm. I'm not saying it's okay, but I don't think the connotation behind it is necessarily, like, this, like, racist agenda for everyone. But anyways, no, I love that. I think talking about, like, the positivity and, like, looking at the growth that has happened and what the future looks like is an amazing episode. I know you're over there looking at some statistics. What do you have?
For growth?
Yeah.
So the global Black hair care market is expected to grow at a CAGR of 7.5% from 2019 to 2026.
CAGR. Sierra's getting too technical.
I am technical.
I know.
Compound annual growth rate.
Okay. So it's growing.
Yeah.
Rapidly.
It just means growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just means that they took all the information.
Yeah. We were looking at a statistic as well earlier that was like, and these might not be the exact numbers, but it was around that. It was like 15% of small businesses are Black owned, which you could be like, dang. But out of that 15%, it was like 60 to 68% are like women owned.
I think it was like 64.
Which is huge.
68% of Black women agree that it is difficult to find natural hair care products suited for their hair type. But I think that's why, like,
so many
people in the community are reinvesting in founders from their communities.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, if you see a struggle and you see someone helping you with the struggle, then you're going to invest.
Yeah.
But it said that Black founded beauty brands have seen a 25% sales growth between 2018 and 2019. And that's even before the pandemic. So who even knows?
Well, it's like any great business strategy is seeing where is there a void
and how do we fill it? Mm-hmm. Right. And I feel like being a person of color, like, we know there's a void.
Yeah.
We know there's a gap.
Yeah.
And we can't just expect, like, things to change overnight. It takes time. It takes capital. It takes funding and
education. And
mm-hmm. We've already, like, I don't know if we've ever touched on, like, how much women in general don't get funding, but mm-hmm. Black women get funding. Mm-hmm. And it's like, obviously, if you take the entire population, you look at who gets most of the funding, everyone knows it's mostly white men.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
It's who you know. It's not really what you know. And those people are, yeah, it is what it is. But then it's like, of that funding, I think I was listening to that song I sent you. Keke Palmer, she said, like, what, I don't remember. It was like 2% though, were women funded. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if we know that there's a lack in that, even, like, We just have to take initiative and go after
Yes.
it.
And like that's even more so a reason to support each other.
To support women
Mm-hmm.
in general. Like, Black women support Black women. Every woman support every woman, man. Like, to be honest with you, like, I'm like, I love Black History Month. I've always loved Black History Month, being like a kid raised in DC, all of that, like the culture. I'm here for the culture, right? But I'm also here for just genuine support and community, and that's what we stand for at the root of all of this. Like, the point of Blend Your Business started as Blended. We've gone through all this with y'all, and like, me and Destiny saw a lack in community because of being mixed, as we've talked about. Like, we've seen like how women tear down women in this industry, and it's messed up. But not only is there that, like, everyone has their own struggles. Like, I came from a family of immigrants, and I saw their struggle. Like, I think my grandpa stopped going to school at like 7th grade because he had to stay home and create like financial opportunity for the family. You know, he was white. Like, I think there's struggle across all platforms, but if we can come together and like see someone struggling and help them get to the next step, I think that's how we create a movement that's actually powerful and actually going to change things. Because like, me sitting here, like, Destiny is more of like the doer. She's like more feelings based than me. I think I'm a lot more analytical of stuff. So I'll like sit here and read through all the statistics, and then because I'll read through all the statistics, I almost become like hopeless in a way, where I'm like, these statistics suck. Like, some of them are really cool, but it sucks. Like, I don't know. And then I get emotional, I get upset, and then I'm like, but like, what can we do to change them? Yeah. And I think the more we educate ourselves, the more we can actually make a difference.
And one of our 10 takes before, we were talking.
It's just,
we were
talking difficult.
We were talking about like, regardless of your background or your skin color, like, because you have people who are of color and didn't deal with the same things that other people of color dealt with, you know, and regardless of what you've been through, what you believe, what you've done, you know, like, you can't dismiss the fact that people do struggle because of their color. Like, that's just a fact. You know, like, we've both gone through
every
it.
culture.
We've both had it happen. Yes. You know, like, that's just the reality. So I think instead of pretending like it didn't, like, understanding that,
like, have sympathy.
It does happen. Yes.
For other people.
You're not going to, like, no one's asking you to understand. Like, you can't understand. You never will understand.
No.
Because you're never going to go through it.
No,
like,
and that's a blessing that you're never going to go through it, to be honest.
Yeah. And no one's saying, like, oh, white people don't struggle. White people don't, like, I think it's, like, we go back into this, like, whole, like, me-centered thing of, like,
yeah, like, I've hurt more than you've hurt. Or, like, how I feel like the issue, too, like, where we were recording before, is, like, me and Destiny got very vulnerable when we were talking about our personal experiences, and some of that shit was really painful, and some of it sucked. But at the same time, we're very empathetic people. So as we're sitting here, being here for each other, experiencing our conversation, we both were in the back of our heads, I feel like, okay, but is this going to hurt other people? Yeah. Is this going to make other people feel like they're not seen? Is this going to make them uncomfortable? Right. But like, just because I had a struggle doesn't mean that I'm dismissing any struggle you had.
Yeah.
100%. That's not what I'm saying. Like, 100%. But I am asking you to hear me and to recognize that my experiences are my experience, and they are true and they are valid.
And just because you're not racist doesn't mean that other people aren't racist.
No, like, it doesn't. And I think that's a lot of the issue too, is like, there's just small things, even within business, like what we discussed on one of our podcasts, where me and you went to go look at that space, and then that lady wouldn't even look up from her desk, would not even give us the decency of a hello. And me and you sat there with grace, took it, and dealt with it. And when I was watching that show the other day, This Is Us, the woman speaks to, like, it showed something exactly like that happening, where she was at a check-in desk or something like that, and the white woman behind the desk wouldn't acknowledge her. But then a white lady walked up and she was like, "Hi, ma'am, how are you? How was your day? Whatever." And she saw it. She said nothing. She took it with grace and she left. But she had to explain it to her boyfriend, which is funny that in our last episode you were talking about how, like, sometimes you struggle with, like, being with Sam.
Yeah.
Because of how he
That
looks.
wasn't our last episode. That was one of our takes.
I know.
That
Well, I'm saying last episode like we recorded the episode.
that might have been take 3.
Okay, yeah. So to clarify,
take 3
of this exact freaking episode. But like that was an episode for me and Destiny. We experienced it. You might not have. Anyways, I'm here. We're backtracking. But Destiny was expressing how like she's kind of worried sometimes about like how she has a husband who isn't black.
Yeah.
You know? Or he's brown technically, but he doesn't present brown technically. You know?
Yeah.
Just things like that. But the woman in it was like, I don't know if I want to be with someone who doesn't look like me, because I don't know if I want to go through having to explain my struggles to someone because I'm already exhausted.
Yeah.
And the woman was like, she was like, is he worth it? Basically. And she sat down with him and she was like, listen, when we were at the store, this happened. And he listened to her and he was like, I didn't even notice that. But like, it's those things.
Yeah.
It's those very small things that like we will experience. And as you try to grow your business, that kind of stuff is going to happen to you. And you have to be aware, like, it's just part of society. It's just part of operating as a person of color. You know, it's just, you're going to experience it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can take it and let that become your narrative and let that destroy you and have a victim mentality and let that be the excuse for every reason why you haven't made it. Or you can take that shit and you can let that be your motivator. Because I feel like that's what me and you did. Like, you're not going to dismiss me like I'm nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you how much I make to make you feel stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it with grace.
I know, but I'm like, even that's kind of a fault, to be honest. Like having to show up as like just a subconscious of having to prove to people that like you're successful and like that you're educated and you know what you're doing because you're brown, you know? Like it's so
and then that becomes the thing too. But and then there's a whole nother thing within the community itself, like the Black community, of being like, oh, she thinks she's better than us.
Yeah.
Oh, she thinks she's all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, then you're like trying to straddle like, okay, well, I don't want to seem like I'm overly confident and I think I'm better than everybody else. But like, you do have to basically be like, put some respect on my name.
Yeah.
At the same time, if someone's gonna, like, I'm not gonna act that way if I don't need to, but if you're gonna sit here and be disrespectful, I'm gonna take it to a point. Like, I'm gonna live like Jesus, and every day I try to give grace, but at a point, you need to be told.
I
like
don't even know if I shared this with you, but here's the other thing about like being of color in a successful position. Again, some of it might be legit racism. Some of it might be subconscious feelings that you have because of how society is. But so you guys know, like, I work 2 days a week. I have a very successful business. Like, I drive a nice car. I have nice things. And someone at my job, and again,
at your job.
I'm not at my building. Someone in my building. I'm not going to say this girl was racist. Like, it could totally be my own subconscious feelings. I don't know. So she comes up to me, right? And she's like, all of your clients drive really nice cars. And I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, your client drove up in like a brand new Bentley. That's like a $250,000 car. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, yeah, does she get hair extensions? And I'm like, yeah, like all my clients get hair extensions. And like, this is what I was getting off. Like, you're only here 2 days a week and all your clients drive nice cars. And like, oh, she even commented on my car too. She was like, oh, you have a really nice car. I love your car. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like,
you think I'm a drug dealer?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm like, is it just me? Like, that's all. Like, it could just be my own subconscious feelings, but no, like I 100% believe that this girl thinks I'm in there doing like illegal stuff because she's always asking me questions, and I'm like, bro,
maybe, maybe. We don't know.
The fact that you went there, at least I feel a little bit better because I'm like, but that's the kind of crap I deal with. Like, those are the insecurities that I deal with because of like things that have happened in the past or like society, you know? It's like, I mean, we've talked about even going from like just even just the woman's side of like people assuming that like your husband or your boyfriend, you know, your significant other is
My
the
first
one that...
BMW, y'all. This sound okay. First of all, I'm a humble person. I am. I feel like that sentence sounded shitty, but for real, my first BMW, I went from having a Kia. It was an orange Kia Rio. This was the first car I bought myself. It was a piece of shit. It wasn't a piece of shit. It was good. It got me from point A to point B. It had rolly windows, okay? It was a 2009 with rolly windows. Like, I was like, I have to do something. So I had that. I go from that girl having that to being like, I'm going to have a BMW one day. Everyone around me was like, sweetheart, you sure? That's a lot of money. You can't afford that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, so I could listen to all these people. Mm-hmm. This is why I'm still in cosmetology school. I think I had just started my career at this point when I got the BMW. I was like in makeup and stuff like that. Everybody was like, you can't do it. Mm-hmm. That's too expensive of a car. Who are you to tell me what I can afford? You're not in my bank account. Yeah. You don't know what I can afford.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just assuming.
Yeah. And they're like, you're never going to be able to pay it off. That's like not a good investment, blah, blah, blah. And I'm over here like researching how much my car costs and then researching because I'm petty. Like I'm not petty, but like if you're going to tell me that I can't do something and why I can't do it, I'm going to research everything about what you're doing. Yeah. So I would look up their car, ask them the year they got their car, ask them if it was brand new, everything like that. And then I would research their car and the price it was going for. Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, literally. Or I would get in their car and be like, oh, this is the LE? Okay. And I would be just Googling away. And these are family members at the time or whatever. And I'm just like, this car is this much money and my car is this much money. So you think you can do it, but you think I can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And I go to the dealership. Even when I went to the dealership, when I had my down payment, I had great credit. I worked hard to get there. I walk into the dealership. They're like, you need a cosigner? I was like, no.
Yeah.
They're like, are you sure? Do you want to show me the car or not? They talked to my dad. They showed my dad around the whole lot.
Wow.
Ignored me. My dad like sat there, looked at the guy and was like, this is her car. I don't have anything to do with this. Yeah. Nothing. First car, got it. Paid off my car, paid off my student loans. The whole time everybody was looking at me like, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, or I would be driving my car. I got pulled over once in my car because the guy was like, did your dad buy you this car? I was like, no. He was like, oh, are you borrowing the car? And I just reached into my glove compartment and then gave him my license and registration. I luckily, first of all, I was not very smart, but I like had the dealer paperwork. Mm-hmm. I handed that to him. Just as like a little, fuck you. And he was like, oh, okay, you're good. You can go. I was like, you thought I stole this fucking car. Look what I look like. I'm not even intimidating. You think I'm over here rolling up on people? Like, yeah, give me your shit. Like, no. And I'm like, okay, that was the first car. Paid that off because I busted my ass and I didn't take excuses. Yeah. I didn't listen to everybody.
Yeah, people be out here being crazy.
Bro, don't tell me what I can do or can't do because of what you think I look like.
Yeah.
To be honest. And even part of it was like I was sitting there like you, same experience. Like I was like, this could be racism.
Yeah.
Or it could be.
Right.
That it's not. And I'm worried that I'm taking it that way.
But I think that society has also gaslit us into thinking, like, oh, everything's not racist. But it's like,
no, that man pulling me over was definitely racist.
Some things are. I just hope that I can be an inspiration to like other women of color. The thing is too, it doesn't just start from a business. It starts from every negative comment that has been made to you that makes you feel less than and makes you feel like you don't deserve more. That could be from your hair to your color to the music you listen to. Like it doesn't even have to be focused at business, but it's like, I think this was in probably take 2 of our episodes. I was saying how I hate the phrase like sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will,
sticks and stones can hurt your
bones, but words will never hurt me, because that is the most false statement ever.
Words hurt.
Words hurt, and words can be very empowering, or words can also be very
destructive.
Yes. And when you're constantly being told like you're less than, you can't do this, like you're never going to be this, whatever. Or even if someone like like us who have curly hair or who have a darker skin tone. And it's like, oh, can you do my hair? Oh, do you have the correct foundation color for me? Like when you go through those kinds of things and then it like, you don't even realize subconsciously like the negative like outcome that it's putting on you of like who you are as a person, and like even the insecurities that can hold you back from growing more. Like a lot of the times we don't grow because of ourselves. It's not just because of like something that someone is directly like saying to you in that moment, but because of
It's like everything you take on.
yeah, 100%. And so
That becomes your narrative.
yeah, I just, you know, I just pray, like my prayer is that like, what's the point in me building my business if I can't help other people as well? And so I just like, I really hope that like other people looking in, women of color or just women in general, can look at like us and our stories. These struggles that have happened to us have made us who we are today. You know, it's an important part of our journey. And as much as all of these situations suck, I am very grateful for them because it has shaped me into the woman and the business owner that I am today, and has made me realize that I don't want other women to go through like the same experiences that I went through alone. We're going to go through them. It's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. But just knowing that like we can be support, and then we can create that community to, at least when it happens, even if you feel like you're being delusional, at least you have someone that you can talk to through it and like help guide you of how to overcome it or how to become better, or, you know, whatever the case is. If you are like a woman of color listening to this episode, I think like going back and listening to Melissa's episode would be really great. We had her on a couple of months ago. She is corporate based, but she has created a nonprofit called Brown Girls in the Boardroom. And even though she is like more so helping women in corporate, I think that her message is very strong of just like, we need more like women and brown women like in higher positions.
I also think that us speaking to our struggles isn't negative.
No, it's
because
not.
I personally would have loved to have heard that other women who looked like me went through this.
Yeah.
That's encouraging to me.
Yeah.
Because to see that me and you have been able to build what we've been able to build, and know that we've gone through a lot of the same things that these girls are going through. To me, that's encouraging, that's uplifting, and that's like powerful.
For sure. You got to get some wounds to grow like that thicker skin.
Yeah.
You know, like truly, you know, if you look at a lot of people's success stories, like
it's never
specifically
easy.
Women, more specifically women of color, it's never easy.
Nope.
Like we have to go through it, you know? So I think at the end of the day, the most important thing that we always preach, and I know it sounds repetitive, but it's so important, is just to have your community. Like we cannot do this on our own. And if you think you can, you are very, very sadly mistaken. And eventually you will realize that you need that community, and we'll be here waiting with the doors open for you. Truly. I think one of the most valuable lessons of life is like looking at life with a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Instead of like allowing things that happen to you to define you, allow them to be a part of your journey and a part of your story.
Yeah,
and a reason why you are where you are. A learning growth for sure. We just hope that you guys take into consideration, regardless of your background, just take a moment to really reflect on like Black History Month and like what that means, even if you're not brown. Like, you know, what does that mean? What have people been through?
I think we should just look at it positively this year. I think that's how we were coming at it.
Yes.
We were trying to basically acknowledge the struggle, acknowledge that stuff sucks sometimes, but like also to look at all those struggles and realize like those are also things that people can overcome, and that people are powerful, and there's power in numbers, and there's power in believing in yourself, and there's power in faith. And that even if you're not brown, you can look at those struggles and those stories
100%
and learn from them.
1000%. Yeah, I love that. Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. Join the conversation and let your voice be heard.
If you're ready for a revolution, don't forget to leave us a review wherever you're listening.
Share this episode with your BB who is ready to beautify the beauty industry and rewrite the standards.
Get all the tea from this episode and more in the show notes.
Bye.